on-demand availability of vital products, product tracing and tracking to ensure safe medications, convenient avenues for detailed product data collection. How might new distribution technologies change the way healthcare organizations and patients access life-saving therapies? And what new opportunities could this open for manufacturers and physicians to gain greater insight into how products are used? Join us to find out. In the Know starts now. Hello and welcome to In the Know, your source for insight and analysis on the issues that matter to our dynamic healthcare market. I'm your host, Gina Clark. Today, we take a closer look at the pharmaceutical consignment market and the key role it plays in the supply chain. We'll also talk about how technologies like RFID are creating seismic shifts and how products can be distributed, tracked, ordered, purchased and paid for, as well as the needs these solutions could meet for key patient populations. Joining us to offer his insight is Chris Flori, Vice President of Business Management Solutions for ASD Healthcare. Chris, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
Chris, among your responsibilities for ASD Healthcare, you serve as the Product Management Executive for the company's pharmaceutical consignment solution. Can you give us a quick overview of where the industry stands when it comes to specialty consignment offerings?
Certainly. There are a number of offerings in this space right now, and they really range from the very basic of offerings, which are manual consignment programs, all the way up to the most sophisticated, which is ASDs, and it deploys RFID technology. At the very basic level, these manual consignment programs are really nothing more than just that, a consignment program, and they have relieved the healthcare institution of the financial burden. But all of the activities that they would normally do to manage their own inventory are still in place today. So they have to inventory their product, receive it, they have to do cycle counts, they have to produce purchase orders, they have to do manual orders. So these elements are still very present. There's very little operational relief. As we move up the spectrum towards the ASD approach, which involves an enabling technology, it's far more sophisticated. So ASD does the heavy lifting. It is a true consignment program in that we own the inventory, so the financial benefit is present, as well as the tracking of every single product with an RFID tag. We pull the product back when necessary, we have automated shipments that go out based on usage, and we have full visibility on a web-based solution so that many stakeholders in the healthcare institution can view this product and have access to it.
What challenges do some of these current offerings present to healthcare providers and manufacturers? Let's start with the providers.
On the provider side, the reality is that many of these providers need to make a quantum leap from their current either manual consignment process or no consignment process into a fairly significant and elaborate technology solution. So managing that change is a key piece to it.
And to the manufacturers?
To the manufacturers, there isn't as much a challenge as there is lost opportunity when this is not there. So having availability of real-time data eliminates data failures, data latency, and this is where they stand to benefit with a solution like this.
What common pain points do you see among your customer base? And in what ways can some of the current technologies help to address them?
Most of our customers have a very similar profile in terms of their use of technology or the absence of that technology. So they suffer from lack of manpower, inconsistencies in deployment, training gaps. And when we come in with our consignment solution, we lift that burden. We take the heavy lifting away from them and put it on our deployment and on our solution. And as a result, it eliminates these failure points.
So how do the technologies that you describe impact top-of-mind issues like product integrity?
So this is a classic example where when you tag each product and you have great visibility throughout the supply chain of where this product is and when it's there, product integrity remains top of mind. The ability to divert product, the ability to have loss or spoilage as a result is really eliminated from the supply chain in this case. And to the extent there are elements of that, it's immediately identifiable, so you know when it happens.
From a manufacturer's perspective, what sort of data could be captured at the time of product dispensing that is currently being lost? Or perhaps more importantly, what could this data be used for?
Well, this is the great part of using an enabling technology. The data capture elements are really endless in terms of what that manufacturer would want to get their hands on. So the reality is we have the opportunity to provide a lot of different data points to a number of different stakeholders in the supply chain when we use an enabling technology like RFID.
What has prevented data like this from being gathered to this point? And are there obstacles that still stand in the way?
I think there are two big obstacles in terms of gathering this data to this point. The first is with a manual process, the data is usually handwritten, there's latency in the data, there are accuracies in the data, and I think if we overcome those by deploying good enabling technologies, we speed to market that data, and it's really actionable at that point.
Are there particular disease states that lend themselves more toward easy and effective data capture, or disease states where the data is more important and valuable to the manufacturers?
The beauty of these solutions are that they can really be used across a wide range or really any disease state, but certainly there are disease states currently that we deal with where they are really a sweet spot. So a disease state such as hemophilia, where there's a need at the patient level and a solution, this is the electronic capture of a bleed log. There's a benefit at the provider level where they get immediate pass-through of information, and there's a benefit at the manufacturer level, so they get immediacy in terms of data turnaround. So all of the stakeholders benefit in this scenario.
Turning our attention to the provider community, what advantages might new consignment technologies provide either in the areas of clinical or operational improvement?
I think both of these areas, both clinically and operationally, we would see significant upticks in the performance. So from a clinical standpoint, we would take away the burden of a lot of the tasks that are rather administrative in nature, and we would push those hours and efforts towards patient care. So I think the clinical outcomes would be better because there's more time spent with patients. Operationally, whenever we remove tasks, whenever we reduce the risk and really the friction in the supply chain, we have a more cost-effective outcome. So operationally and clinically, there's a big uptick when we deploy these types of technologies.
What does the decision-making process look like for customers who are considering switching from a manual process to a more automated consignment solution?
Again, this speaks to a customer that really wants to raise the bar in terms of sophistication in their use of technology. They're more likely to be a customer that wants to have a more interactive approach with systems within their hospital, and they're more likely to want to reduce waste and take the level of sophistication to a point where there's less human interaction and there's more responsibility on their vendor and channel partners.
What resistance or concerns have you encountered among the provider community, and how do you address these concerns?
Once again, I think there are two big areas that we attempt to get in front of with regard to concerns when we deploy these. The first is really around change management. There's obviously a desire to not have change in this scenario, and we feel that when we deploy a good implementation process and really get in front of it and address the issues of business process change on the front side of this, we enable the customer to be successful when we deploy these changes. Secondarily is really an economic barrier. So enabling technologies have a financial cost to them. So it is incumbent upon us at ASD to provide good financial modeling so that the customer makes the right business decision.
What about the impact on cost efficiencies for providers? Overall, how are these technologies helping to improve cost?
They really do two things. When you eliminate risk and you eliminate failure, you really reduce cost. You reduce stress in the supply chain. You eliminate the opportunity for loss of product because you don't know where it is. And you eliminate a lot of the costs associated with failure around knowing how much you have and how much you need. That's the heavy lifting that ASD does with our consignment program.
Is there a difference in how different types of healthcare providers might use these solutions to improve cost?
Certainly. We see that some of the larger institutions that are a little bit more sophisticated will plug into our solution from an interoperability standpoint with existing elements that they have in their own healthcare institution, maybe a billing and collections program, maybe an ERP device. So a large institution is more likely to have more interaction with the RFID solution. And secondarily, a large institution is likely to have elements of management above a single site manager. So leveraging this web-based solution, they can look across their institutions and have an understanding and visibility to what's going on in different segments. A smaller institution still benefits from all of the aspects of this, but there really isn't that need.
Are there potential opportunities to combine use of these technologies with manufacturer or payer-driven patient compliance programs?
Absolutely. It's a very natural fit to leverage what exists in the market and what's coming down the pike in terms of manufacturer programs and needs, as well as payer and provider program needs. These types of technologies are very fungible with regard to their plug-in opportunities, so I think all of these aspects can be leveraged with these technologies.
What about risk related to product expiration? Medical professionals are trained to pay close attention to expiration dates. A patient dispensing his or her own medications may not be. How can this issue be addressed?
You know, this is a great example of a very tactical response that this type of technology provides. So in the case of expiring goods, we have great visibility deep into the supply chain of the dating of this product, both its viability and where it sits. So we can get in front of that, pull that product back and replace it with appropriately dated product. So this is an example of really ongoing product maintenance. Additionally, for more acute scenarios, say a recall, we can really go out there, grab the product with great immediacy, and provide, again, clarity to the manufacturers about what has already passed through the supply chain. So these are two real good examples where this technology addresses very tactical needs in the market.
Looking ahead, where do you see solutions like the technologies you've described offering opportunities beyond where you are today?
I think this is where MyCubix comes into the scenario. So the ability to deploy these type of technologies in a home-based solution and really provide care and benefit to both the patient, the caregiver, the provider, the payer, and the manufacturers is something that has not been done yet.
What factors are driving this growth or opportunity in these areas?
There are a number of factors that are real catalysts in this market with regard to these types of technologies and needs. I would say the first is a compliance issue, driven by the need to have good empirical data around actions and activities that are taking place from the moment of interaction with the patient all the way through the taking of product. And I would say the second is the need to have outcomes management that's data-driven, that's real-time, and that's actionable, so we can get in front of some of these elements and potentially change an outcome as a result of getting this data.
Chris, thanks so much for your insight on where the specialty distribution market is headed. We're out of time now, but thank you for being with us.
My pleasure.
And thank you for joining us. We'll be back soon with another all-new webisode. Until then, if it's on your mind, it's in the know.